Hey guys, so the Jodie Whittaker era has officially ended, and the time has come for me to look back and remember some of my favorite episodes overall. I gotta say, this selection was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. As someone who wasn't a fan of the era overall, I didn't realize there were actually so many episodes I enjoyed. I briefly thought about doing a top 7 because it was so hard to pick, but I wanted to match my other top 5 stories videos. Speaking of which, if you haven't seen those, I've done top 5 videos for each Doctor, except McGann. I haven't figured out what to do with him yet because he only has 2 TV stories. Might do a Big Finish one later on, or at least one including his Big Finish, but I want to get caught up a bit more before I do that. But enough waffling on. One more thing. Even though it was marketed as one big story, I've decided to divide Flux into single episodes to give me more chances of episodes, and there were episodes that I liked in there even if I didn't like Flux overall. Without further ado, here we go. My top 5 best stories from the Jodie Whittaker era. Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror. I like when Doctor Who teaches me things, and I gotta be honest, I did not know a whole lot about Tesla before this episode. I knew a bit. I knew he was a contemporary of Edison, and I knew they had a rivalry, but that was really all I knew. Didn't know he was so unaccepted in his time and so poor, and didn't know it was such a sad story. I thought it did well at teaching me some new things, although I can't attest as to how historically accurate it is. It did teach me some stuff. And I think the episode had a good lesson too, about taking other people's work for yourself and all that. But I also like that although they asked questions about how much of his work was done by people under him, they didn't entirely demonize Edison. Like, they didn't just make him a bad guy. For instance, when his employee got murdered, he was genuinely sorry. Some lesser writers would have just said, okay, in my opinion, he's the bad guy, and in reality, it's a lot more complicated than that. As for the villains of the episode, true, there's nothing too special about them. Although the makeup is impressive, and we can't underplay the fact that that level of prosthetic is not easy for anyone involved. But beyond the makeup, as I say, these aren't going to be remembered as some of Doctor Who's greatest villains, but sometimes that's a good thing. Not every villain needs to be a Dalek or a Weeping Angel. This was a one-off fluff episodes, and the villains were fitting for that. I thought they worked well enough for what they were meant to be. I think the best seasons are those that have a good mix of important big episodes and little ones like this. The fluff episodes like this didn't always work in the Chibnall era, but yeah, this is one of them that I think worked the best. Village of the Angels. Maxine Alderton, who also penned another one of the episodes on this list, co-wrote this Flux episode with Chris Chibnall, who together gave us possibly the best appearance of the Weeping Angels since Series 5, possibly even since Blink. The Weeping Angels have got to be a difficult monster to write for. I mean, when they were first introduced, they were kind of a one-shtick monster. You blink, they move. You look at them, they don't move. Could get a little old if they're used too much. Scares could diminish over time. That's why you have to keep doing new things with them if you're going to bring them back. And while there's nothing too groundbreaking here, I don't think they really invented anything new. The old methods Moffat invented in Series 3 and 5 are brought back in such a way that they kind of feel new. Yeah, Moffat invented the whole image of an angel becomes an angel thing, but this episode makes it cooler with that fire angel, and even kind of how they interact with Jericho through the TV. I really think this episode is one of those instances where the acting, directing, writing, editing just really pull it together in a way that works well. And is kind of scary. And it has, in my opinion, one of the best cliffhangers in the show's history. I really hope RTD brings back Maxine Alderton for future stories. Or if not, can we have her for Big Finish, please? I'd love to see how she would write for a different Doctor. Resolution. Say what you will about Chibnall's writing, but he has proved that he can actually craft a pretty good story from time to time. If his whole era had been on the level of some of his standalone specials, like this one, I would have been a lot more on board with it. After a season of no returning villains, not only did this one bring back a Dalek, but he also did something new and fresh which kept it from just being another average Dalek story. and that made it more intriguing, exciting, and just better overall. I think this may be the best Dalek story since, well, Dalek. Yeah, the script isn't perfect. There's a few holes in the premise, like how did that protector lie in the same spot on a public road for hundreds of years with nobody moving him or taking the package? But this one is just so fun and exciting. I can forgive stuff like that. The script is good. Wayne Yip did an excellent job directing the action and the editing, and created what I thought was a very exciting episode, and definitely one of the Chibnall era and Whittaker era's best. Next story on the list is Jodie's last and the most recent episode to air as of the making of this video. Yeah, the story doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's crammed with all the fan service Chibnall could throw at it, but that's what makes it fun. As I said in my review of the episode, I had a lot of fun watching it. And as for whether or not there's too much fan service, well, it is an anniversary episode after all. If you're going to throw everything at it, that's the best time to do it. Seeing the classic Doctors back was awesome, seeing the companions who came back was awesome, even Ian Chesterton, that's it. Seeing him back was awesome. The performance from the regulars were good as well. Jodie, Sasha, Mandip, all given their chance to shine. That's another good thing about this episode, like it was longer, so even though there was so much crammed in, it wasn't like the last episode of Flux, or maybe it was the last 2 episodes of Flux, where they just crammed everything in and didn't have time to tell it properly, didn't have time to give characters interesting stuff to do. This one was longer, so it did. Yeah, I thought it worked. Like I say, not perfect. Also, a pretty good regeneration scene. I love Jodie's last line, so yeah. Like I say, maybe not one of the greatest stories ever, but definitely one of the most fun ones we've ever had. The Haunting of Villa Diodati. As a classic horror and monster fan, this is probably the episode from Jodie's era I will most likely end up rewatching the most. Doctor Who has many times tried to find a way of combining sci-fi elements of the show to classic horror elements. In my opinion, it rarely succeeds very well. However, Maxine Alderton has found a way here in this episode to keep the scares even after the sci-fi element is revealed. Unlike some where when the sci-fi element is revealed, it's just not scary anymore. Looking at you, Hyde. And like the Dalek in Resolution, it's cool to have a new twist on an old classic here. Ashad, scariest Cyberman ever. Too bad he was kind of wasted in his latter episodes. My only gripe with this episode is the question of how it does fit in with the Big Finish McGann adventures, but it's Doctor Who. There's always a way to headcanon stuff, even if you do have to force it sometimes. Even if you can't find a way though, I enjoyed this episode so much I can even forgive that. Everything works just so well together. The sets, the lighting create the perfect atmosphere. All the actors do a good job with a great script, and I like how it doesn't necessarily reveal everything, like who were those 2 ghosts Graham kept seeing? We never really find out, and I kind of like that. A sci-fi explanation would have just taken away from the creepy factor, but the fact that we don't know keeps it creepy. Yeah. In the future, this is probably going to always be my top pick for an episode to watch for Halloween. As well as The Unquiet Dead, although that's more Christmas. I guess it's both. So that's my list. What do you guys think? What are your top 5 Jodie Whittaker era episodes? Let me know in the comments below, and if you want to see more videos like this, click like and subscribe and check out my channel where I've done top 5 lists of all the Doctors. I've also ranked all the Doctors, and I do all sorts of lists and reviews on the channel, so yeah, and not just Doctor Who, sometimes I delve into other areas like DC or Star Wars or Marvel. But yeah, that's all I have for now. See you guys later.